Welcome to our first parallel lines video. In this topic, we have quite a bit of vocabulary. The first piece of vocabulary I want you to think about is, what are parallel lines? Parallel lines are lines that never intersect. And by intersect, I mean cross. This entire unit that we will be in for the next couple of weeks will be focusing on parallel lines. When we talk about parallel lines in geometry, we talk about two parallel lines to start with, and I'm going to highlight those for you in yellow. And you can see that if those two lines kept going to the upper right and the lower left, they would not ever cross. A lot of times what you will see on parallel lines are little like that, not at the end of the line, but somewhere in that area. And that also shows that they're parallel. Now, these two parallel lines, these two yellow ones, they have another third line. And I'm not sure if you can see that, where that is, but I'm going to highlight that in blue. This is the third line. There are actually three lines in this picture. This third line is a special line that is crossing the two yellow parallel lines. And this is what we call transversal line. And all that means is that the blue line is crossing the two yellow parallel lines. So what we'll call these over here with this other arrow is parallel. And I'll put another arrow here, lines. So that's some basic vocabulary. Now, if you notice, there are three boxes that we need to fill in. In between the two parallel lines in this box, we call this the interior, because it is inside or in between the two parallel lines. And that's all this space in here. Okay, that's all the interior. On the outside of the parallel lines, we call that exterior. Go ahead and fill that in your note packet. Exterior means outside. All of our vocabulary today will be surrounding these vocabulary words. There are a few more. If you take a look at the bottom of that page, you'll see that parallel lines that are cut by transversal line results in new types of angles. It's also going to have some old friends from the previous unit. We're still going to have vertical angles. We're still going to have linear pairs. But our new angles are going to be corresponding angles, alternate interior angles, alternate exterior angles, same side interior angles, and same side exterior angles. Now, another word that sometimes is used for same side, I'm going to write it over here and you can write it in your notes, is consecutive. So I'd just like you to see both of those words. Consecutive means one right after another. Now, using the special names, we can classify pairs of angles based on their locations. And their locations are relative to the parallel lines and the transversal line. So if you look at this house, I have a little teeny weeny house here. The house is sitting near the three lines. Where would would you say it is located? My first question would be, is it located on the interior or is it located on the exterior? And you can see that it's outside the parallel lines. So that's on the exterior. And is it to the left or is it to the right of that transversal line? And I'll give that transversal line some thickness there so you can see it. Is it to the left or is it to the right? And it is to the left. Some kids like to say that it is above the parallel line. And that's okay, you can say that here. It is above one of the parallel lines. So if we wanted to make another house, a second house, in that same position, we would want to stay to the left of the parallel, of the transversal line. So there's a house to the left of the transversal line, and it is above a parallel line. So those two houses are said to be corresponding. Correspond in terms of their position. That means that they have the same position relative to the transversal line and to the parallel lines. So if we were to look at this picture at the bottom, 1 and 5 would be like those two houses. So angle 1 and angle 5 would be corresponding. Angle 2 and angle 6 would also be considered corresponding because these are both above and to the right. Angle 3 and angle 7 are corresponding because they are to the left and below. And angle 4 and angle 8 are also corresponding because they are to the right and below. So when we're talking about corresponding angles, we're talking about angles that are in the same position. When we look at this picture here in the upper right corner, which angles are in the interior? Let's label our interior, I-N-T. And then let's label our exterior, E-X-T. Do a little abbreviating there. So in the interior, we have angle 3, angle 4, angle 5, and angle 6. And on the exterior, we have angle 1, we have angle 2, we have angle 7, and we have angle 8. So when we talk about interior and exterior angles, first let's talk about angles that are on the same side of the transversal. And in the interior. So only looking at 3, 4, 5, and 6, which ones are on the right and which ones are on the left. So angle 4 and angle 6 are same side interior, and angle 3 and angle 5 are same side interior. And that's because they're in the interior, but they're on the same side. Now, when we want to do the alternate ones on alternate sides of the transversal, that's when we want one to the left and one to the right. So, for example, let me change colors here. I'll get a red. 3 and 6, one's on the left, one's on the right. That's alternate interior. And 4 and 5 are alternate interior. One's on the right, one's on the left. How come do you think we don't use 5 and 6? They're both in the interior, and one is on the left and one is on the right. Why don't we call those alternate interior angles? Because they already have a name. Those are, from the last unit, those are a linear pair. So we also refer to them as being in the same neighborhood. They're in the same group, and we'll talk about more about that later. But 5 and 6, and 3 and 4, and 1 and 2, and 7 and 8, they're already special angles because they're linear pairs. Okay, let me do a little erasing here. Erase this part. Now let's talk about the exterior ones. Which angles would you say are on the same side of the transversal and are exterior? So we have a 1 and a 7 are on the left and exterior, and we have a 2 and a 6 that are on the right. I'm sorry, not a 6. My apologies. That should be an 8. That are on the right and in the exterior. And if we want alternate sides of the transversal and in the exterior, then we want 1 and 8 because 1 is on the left, 8 is on the right. Or we want 2 and 7 because 2 is on the right and 7 is on the left. Notice that those angles are all in the exterior. So we have done same side interior, alternate interior, same side exterior, and alternate exterior. Here's some nice little relationship pictures to show you, kind of to help you find these angles. So for example, if you can make a C around the two angles, those are same side interior. If you can make an F, those are corresponding. And if you can make a Z, those tend to be alternate interior. Now we'll stop and do this as a class. So we'll pause here, turn off the video, and we'll come back together as a group.